Hi everyone, how are you doing? This is Amanda. So today is, actually I've totally lost track of what the day is. It is apparently the 15th of August. I've been in a sort of 2 week hiatus really. And I promised you that I would come back and talk to you about my experiences and reflections and observations following COVID basically knocking on my door and coming into my family home 2 weeks ago. Those of you that don't know, yeah, my daughter came down with it first, following going to a nightclub, I'm sure, in London. And she was unwell for a week. She's recovered absolutely fine, threw it off quite easily, actually. And then my husband came down with it a little bit later. He's been unwell for a week, although he's on the mend now and probably still got a bit of recovery to go because it's wiped him out in terms of his energy levels, but he's doing really well. I didn't get it, and my younger daughter didn't get it either. So half of us got it and half of us didn't. That may well be a subject for this video or another video. There's already quite a lot I want to say in this video, so I'm going to try and keep it as tight as I can so that we don't lose focus. The intention of this video, as I say, is to help you if you have COVID come knocking on your door, and maybe it will help you if I walk through what I was feeling and sensing, some of the protocols that I adopted, some of the things that I believe helped us to heal and equally to protect. It's a double-barreled thing, okay? Yes, I am going to mention particular things that I used, whether that be crystals, sprays, homeopathy, etc. But I want to stress that, and I've said this many times over the years, that I believe that we all have a toolkit. I've talked about us having a toolkit many times, and into your toolkit will be a number of things that you often turn to when you become unwell, whether it's with COVID or anything else, or just things that help you navigate life. I'm a firm believer in being loyal to the things that have stood the test of time for me, and what my things may be might not be what your things would be. What we're dealing with regard to COVID and this whole pandemic, but particularly the virus, is that it interacts with people in a very different way, individual to individual. This is well documented. And as such, I suppose it goes without saying that the healing and the remedy will also, a one-size-fits-all approach can't really ever offer the whole answer. So take what resonates in this reading and this session, and leave what doesn't. Equally, if there are things that have worked for you, great, keep on using them or have them in your store cupboard for, a rainy day, which hopefully won't come. I have to say, and thank you so much for all of the love and the good wishes and the blessings and the healing that so many people sent to me and my family over the last couple of weeks, because certainly if you've been on Facebook and Instagram, you know what I've been going through. And I really appreciated your love. I could absolutely feel it. The other thing I could feel, and I will just say this because I think it's a teaching moment as well, is again, with the absolute best of intentions, so many people suggested things that I needed to do. And indeed, I'm going to be suggesting things for you to do. So, I understand there's a bit of irony here, but I'm trying to present this in a way which is, this is what worked for me. If bits of this resonate, please take them and use them. But I'm not coming at you in a way, I had a few people who were almost like screaming and shouting at me in terms of, you've got to go and get this immediately, you have to take this immediately, you have to take it in this dose. And the whole energy of that was very much like, whoa, if I don't do that, what the hell is going to happen? So no, there were a few things I tried that maybe I hadn't tried before, but most of it was my things that I usually have within my toolkit, because it was more than anything a lesson in trust and faith. hugely, and also stepping into and really leaning back into my own higher self. So this is also what you need to do as well. So there are gifts that come when this comes into your home. I will obviously say at this point that I'm very aware that some of you watching may very well have lost people to COVID. I also know some of you, because you've written to me, who have lost people from taking the jab. It's very sad, and it seems to work both ways. Now, and I would actually just like to say rest in peace to Chris, who was a regular viewer of mine, and I know who lost her battle to COVID around the time that my family was going through this. So, you know, at the end of the day, this is very much about us needing to let go of the fighting and the ego in terms of our position on various things, and just try to come together, which is what I really am trying to encourage us as a tribe to do. Indeed, another big part of what I felt helped keep me well, and that I didn't come down with it, was that I really let go of a lot of energy, which I felt was disruptive or could be disruptive. And I just focused on what was true to me, and I stood in my sovereignty and my power. And yes, I had emails from some of you and comments coming in online in criticising, you know, our decision to be tested. Criticisms coming in terms of, well, you probably haven't got it anyway, it's just a cold, it's nothing to worry about. And I just really batted that back, because it wasn't the time and the place. When you're feeling unwell or you are unwell, you just need to focus on getting yourself well, and all the rest of it actually just becomes noise. So let's get to the teaching here. It's going to be probably a little bit disjointed, because what I'm really doing is I'm opening up my diary to you of the last couple of weeks. And what I've done is I've jotted down things that I observed on different days. So it's very personal, and I hope it helps you. That's why I'm basically sharing it. Before we get to that, I just have to say something linked into housekeeping. I'm not going to keep going on and on about this on all my videos, but there are people pretending to be me online at the moment. I know it's happening to many spiritual teachers, and yes, I do believe it is a bit of an assault or on the light. I have no doubt about that. So some of you have fallen for it, unfortunately, and passed over your money. I cannot say more clearly that I will never contact you offering you a reading. I will never contact you offering a healing. And I will certainly never then get into a discussion about, well, how much can you afford, you know, and how are you going to pay me? I saw some of the conversations that some of you had with these scammers, and I just feel very sad about the whole thing, that there are so many people who want to rip off others. But it's a fact of life. Scammers are a fact of life. They're getting very sophisticated in how they do it. It looks like you are talking to me because they use my photograph. They create fake pages on Instagram and Facebook. They can certainly come into YouTube as well, which is why I moderate all of my comments so that they can't get to you. But, you know, it's everywhere, guys. So the golden rule is, if you're being offered a reading from me, it's not me, because I don't do that. I don't reach out via email or any other way, or messenger. Okay. Right. So yes, let's get to it, guys. Let's get to it. Where to start? Let's start on day one, shall we? Let's start on day one. I think, you know, the reality is that in the UK, the decision was made. I'm not going to get into any of the politics on this or the right and wrongs of any of it, but the decision was made to reopen the nightclubs and festivals and things like that. I can't even remember on what date, but obviously I've got teenagers in my house, and I knew that my eldest would want to go, and I had no problem with that. I also knew that the high likelihood would be that she would catch it. And as a result bring it back into the home, but I wasn't going to chain her to the kitchen sink. Anyway, she goes off to London, and yes, she comes back with it. The incubation period probably was about 5 days, and the first thing that I observed was the energy arriving in my house. And one of the pieces of guidance I would give you is that when the virus enters your house, number one, this is one of the most important parts of it, actually, is that yes, you must not go into fear, but equally, you actually have to respect the virus that is there. I had respect for it, but I didn't fear it. Can I repeat that? I had respect for it, but I didn't fear it. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that, and again, without getting into the politics of it all, is that from an energetic perspective, this virus, whatever you want to think it is, let's just assume it's here right now. This has power because it's basically brought the world to its knees, okay? It has created death, but more than anything, it's created a huge mushroom cloud, is what I'm being shown, of fear, okay? As such, that is a powerful enemy that we basically have in our midst. It's not just something it's not insignificant. But that doesn't mean that I went into fear over it greatly, although I did have a few pockets of it, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Now, I actually drew this little diagram. Don't shoot my art. Can you see that? This is truly what I felt. So when it came knocking on the door and came in, I was very aware that me, particularly as a mother, because it was my child who first got infected, I, of course, had a little bit of fear because I'm a human being. And there is no shame in saying that I actually have a little bit of fear because it's more about the unknown. It's also, I was very aware that the fear was linked into the collective. It's like I could detach what was my own fear from this great big mushroom cloud. And I wasn't going to feed into this great big mushroom cloud of collective fear, into which would also be, for example, the mass media. I was just going to work on this little pocket, this little bubble, which was much more burstable, okay? If you imagine that as a little balloon of my own fear, that could be burst and could be diminished and transmuted quite easily by using certain tools, which I'm going to talk to you about. This thing is just at the moment completely and utterly out of control, and I have no control over that, okay? But equally, I can observe it from a detached perspective. I'll give you one example. This actually happened the day that my husband came down with it, which was actually on Lion's Gate, quite interestingly, okay? So on Lion's Gate 8-8, John starts to display symptoms, and it's pretty obvious that, he's got it. And on that day, in our local newspaper, there was the lead story was of a man, my husband's age, who had got it and who was sort of the epitome of health and fitness, very strong, got it and basically died. And, my husband is very fit, he's very strong, he's an athlete basically. He's got that sort of build, he looks after himself, he doesn't look his age, etc. And so I open up the paper and I see that on the day that my husband's coming down with it. And I'm very much aware, rest in peace, by the way, to the guy that did die, because that's a true story. But I'm aware that it's because that happened in the collective, it doesn't mean that it had to happen to me in my reality. Does that make sense? So I was able to almost divorce those two different energies. And it's as though, well, okay, that happened there, but it doesn't have to happen here. Also, on the day that Lucy became ill, again, I'm sure with the best of intentions, but we really have to watch that we don't fuel the fear ourselves, because we unintentionally do it all the time. And I have already channeled the virus and allowed it to speak on previous videos. There's a whole playlist called COVID on my YouTube channel here. You can look back on that. And we learnt that the thing that the virus fears the most is us basically staying in love and alignment and sovereignty, basically not fearing it. The thing that it fears is us not fearing it. Okay. But on the day that Lucy came down with it, again, I just put a little post up to say I'm not going to be around. Someone posted, or said something. What was it? She said something along the lines of, "Okay, well, yeah, I know 15 people that have died, including a 20-year-old girl near me," and I thought, what purpose does that serve to tell me that now? It serves absolutely no purpose. You're not even saying rest in peace to the people that have died. What you're actually trying to do is put fear into my heart that's already there. You're actually trying to expand my little bubble of fear that I've already got and make it almost as big as this. And I saw it for what it was, and I thought, I'm not allowing you to do that. I'm not allowing that to grow any bigger, because we know that people have died. That is a given. I'm not even going to get into all the stuff about that, okay? So I've never been a denier of the fact that this virus is real and in our midst. But it's about managing our own fear rather than dipping into the collective fear the whole time. I've actually got a friend on a social media channel, and bless her heart, but ever since this pandemic began, I think she used to do it daily, but certainly it's weekly. She puts up the daily statistics for the place where she lives in the world in terms of how many people are infected and how many people have died. And I think we've really got to start questioning why we would do that. Now, you might think that's extreme, but the thing is, when you come online and you tell somebody who's already coping with illness in their home, oh God, all these people have died, you are feeding the virus. You don't realise you're doing it, but you are. What about if that person could instead, for example, post something along the lines of, this number of people recovered today. This number of people didn't get it. This number of people are actually doing just fine. Because that is, my friends, is the energy that you need to hold. Rather than giving fuel to this, which is like, oh my God, it's knocked on my door and we're all going to die. Like the old-fashioned cross on the door, plague, do not come closer. It's very real. That's sort of like what it feels like if you allow it to feel like that. I didn't allow it. I was just like, okay, this is completely what I felt. It's like, okay, you are in my house now. This energy, this virus, you are in my house now. What are you here to teach us? Because I recognized it as a master teacher energy, because I respect the fact that it has the ability to teach the whole world something. Whether we're learning the lessons of that at the moment, let's not even get into again, but it is. So it's like, okay, you're here. Okay, you're going to teach us something over the next week or 2 weeks. I didn't know how long it was going to be. But I also said to it, I don't fear you. And equally, don't put your feet up on the sofa and get too settled here. Can you feel the energy of what I'm trying to communicate? It's like, okay, you're here. Whether I like it or not, you're here. There's something that's going to be revealed from this. I actually have no control over how this is going to go, so I have to just go into trust and faith. In terms of all scenarios, I'm in trust and faith because I know Spirit is here equally. You can come in because you're here now, sort of uninvited anyway. Metatron saying, wipe your feet on the mat. But yeah, I was like, but don't you settle on my sofa and get too comfortable here, because you're not staying for long. You're not staying for long. And actually what I'm hearing now, because John is much, much better now, and he's got another week probably just to get his energy levels back, but Metatron's saying I need to now do something symbolically in terms of opening up the front door and actually escorting it out. I mean, it is sort of out anyway, but just the last remnants, because we talk about germs and spores and things like that. I'm now being shown spores, which are actually just, they're fear spores. They're fear spores linked into, oh my God, is it all completely gone, or is it going to come back? Or, am I suddenly going to come down with it on day 14? No, I'm not. I would have got it by now. It's that type of thing. I don't actually feel any of that, but it's like escorting it to the door. And then what Metatron is saying is actually saying thank you in terms of what you've taught me. Okay. I will also say at this junction that I also have always believed, and I've never wobbled from this ever, including last week when I did have one moment which was a bit dicey. where my shadow really played up. I'll tell you about that in a moment. I've always believed that we pass when we're meant to, without exception. So if this had come in and one of us, God forbid, had passed, I would still have stayed true to what I believe, which is that we go when we're meant to. Would I have liked that? No, I wouldn't have liked it one little bit, but I would have come back to that place eventually. Okay. All right. Let's have a look at my notes now. So yes, it became a personal relationship with this unseen energy. And it was almost like looking at it slightly with bemusement in terms of, I've heard, again, think of it as this ball of energy. I've heard so much about you, you know, over the last 18 months, I've heard so much about you. Do you know how much you're discussed? Do you know how much you're feared? Do you know how much you've completely taken over the stories in the newspaper? And it's like, oh, right. So that's what you are. It was almost like there was a curiosity to it as well. That's what I felt as well. Also, what came in was faith and trust in my own immune system. Having said that, I also very much felt over the first few days that I needed to step it up a bit. Okay, so it didn't last, I have to be honest, for the full 2 weeks, but certainly in the first few days when I didn't quite know what was going on, I was very, very good, guys. I was very, very good. I wasn't having any sugar. I was doing things which I probably should be doing every day, to be perfectly honest, but I was just being very good. I was minding what I was eating, what I was putting into my body, what I was watching on TV. I mean, even when John was recovering, because he's got very strong opinions on various things linked into this pandemic, neither of us have had the jab, for example, okay, and we have no regrets on that. Not wanting to argue about that, he is entitled to that opinion. But there was a particular study that I found, which was interesting, and I thought, no, but I'm not going to show him that today because I just want him to concentrate on his own body. Okay, it was like nothing else matters other than just getting yourself well. Let go of any studies or any research or anything like that. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I also did that for myself. It's almost as though the outside world closed down because it needed to. The noise just needed to die down, and I just needed to concentrate on myself and my family, and they needed to concentrate on their stuff as well. That also means, for example, switching off social media and, other people's energy, putting your boundaries down very firmly. Anyway, yeah, no sugar. What else did I do? I had a desire to make fresh, nutritious food. It's obvious things, really. No sugar, have I said that? No alcohol. Sleep became really important, and in fact I would say sleep is probably the number one thing. It's going to have tied place actually. Sleep and staying in no fear, I would say, are the two biggest things that helped us heal as quickly as we did, and equally myself not to get it. But when you've got it, sleep just seems to be the thing that is needed so much. John basically slept for a whole week. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. There was one day, the day I was particularly worried, he was asleep the whole day. He was asleep the whole night. He did eat, he did drink, but then he was straight back into bed. And I've never ever seen him like that in 20 years I've known him. So I did have a wobble on that day. But yeah, sleep, and more sleep. And I will tell you, I don't know if I've still got it out, but because I basically did some crystal grids for all of us, and I pulled some cards, and the cards I pulled were linked into blessings. I haven't got it actually out to show you, but for Lucy, the first blessing that came out was a blessing on your sleep. And this was in the first few days. And I was like, a blessing on your sleep? What's that got to do with it? But it made so much sense over the coming week or so because, yeah, she just slept. John just slept. And there is, there's something that happens when you sleep. It boosts your immune system. Can't stress enough how important it is. If you come down with this virus, do not try and fight it. Do not just try and carry on as normal. Forget the washing up. Forget the washing. Forget everything. Just go to bed and sleep if you need to. It's the number one thing that's needed from what I was experiencing. I mentioned this crystal to you last video, Shutakite. Now, where's it gone? Where's my crystal gone? Oh, it's over there. Hold on, guys. I'm just going to go and get it. Oh. So, yeah, my last video with Quan Yin, we mentioned Shutakite. When I looked up the properties of Shutakite again, maybe I said this in the last video, I can't remember. It helps to stimulate cell division, it repairs DNA, and it also helps heal genetically transmitted diseases, including radiation damage. It brings courage and inner strength. So I used Shutakite, okay, on healing grids. In terms of ascended masters that I brought in, I mean, yeah, John came down with it on Lion's Gate. It was the day that we were launching the Quan Yin spray. And thank you very much for all of the people that bought that. It's sold out, and yes, Tracy will restock it next week. But if you've seen my Lion's Gate video, it was all about Quan Yin. And one of the things Quan Yin is about is helping to alleviate sickness. So I leaned very heavily into Quan Yin, and I sprayed this everywhere, you know, all over his bed. Lucy didn't need it because she wasn't as bad, but, you know, and I also sprayed it for myself. I sprayed it in the bedroom. It really, really helped. And it just felt like this wave of reassurance and soothing of suffering, basically. I trusted her energy. I really trusted her energy, because for me, it's quite new to be really leaning into Quan Yin. I've always gone to other masters in the past, particularly Mother Mary, Jesus. They would be my go-tos, and indeed they were there as well. But Quan Yin, can't stress enough how much she helped. Okay, so I'm just looking at my notes. I did say this was going to be a bit disjointed, but it's just what came through to me. Don't listen to the fearmongers. I've said that. I know so-and-so that have died. Yeah. It's like, well, I know all these people that recover. I've said that. With my daughter, it's interesting the way people are different when they're unwell, because with her, it's very much like she just closes the door and she gets on with it. There's no fuss. Almost to the point where I'm knocking on the closed door, sort of like, are you okay in there? Is there anything I can get you? You know, can I come in? And it's like, no, you can't, go away. And that's fine, because I totally respected the fact that she had it under control. I mean, she's 19, but it's just interesting the way different people behave with it. Lucy, by the way, also lost her sense of smell and her sense of taste, which haven't completely come back yet. I haven't got it to hand, but I do know that there's been a lot of research done on the use of essential oils to help you recover your sense of smell in particular. I might try and do a video at some point soonish on people who suffer from long COVID symptoms, because certainly fatigue would be one of them to look at, but equally this loss of sense of taste or sense of smell. I have a feeling hers is just going to come back naturally, but if it doesn't, yeah, I'll be turning to essential oils. And from what I can remember, having watched a program on it, it's to do with getting some of the very strong smelling essential oils, such as clove. I remember clove was one of them, and literally sort of putting it underneath your nostrils and just, you know, trying to smell it in very short incremental bursts. So I don't know whether it's 3 sniffs in one nostril, 3 sniffs in the other. Don't get it onto the skin or you'll burn the skin around your nose, and then put it away. And it's a bit like reintroducing something. And then the theory is that it starts to stimulate all the channels, and it's like the brain suddenly remembers, that's what clove smells like, that's what frankincense smells like, oh, that's what lemon smells like, and it starts to piece together all the different bits again. Clove, for those of you that use my sprays, is in the Archangel Metatron Flame Attunement and Connection Spray. It's that orange energy. The other one that Metatron's saying to me, if you've got my sprays and you're struggling with trying to get your sense of smell back, my gut feel, as I say, I haven't lost my sense of smell, so I can't say this from personal experience, but my gut feel, I think what I would go to first would be Emerald Renewal and Recovery, which was one of the go-to sprays that I was using in our home. But the reason I'm saying it linked into smell and sense of smell is because it has vetiver in it, vetiver, which is a very strong, pungent smell. I actually love it. It's like Marmite. You either love it or hate it. I think most people love it, but yeah, it's a strong smell. So I just think, again, using that may help as well. But I'll cover smell and taste maybe in another video. I was also conscious because in the UK, this might not be the same in your countries, but when you are diagnosed with it, and I think this is right personally, you have to self-isolate for, at the moment it's 11 days. I think they're about to change that. But anyway, when we were going through it, it's 11 days. Yeah, interesting, that 11 number. And it's the fact that the person that has it has to self-isolate for 11 days, but equally so does everybody else in the house. So in a way, the whole house can't go out. It reminded me of my earlier Metatron teaching over a year ago, where Mother Mary came forward and was talking about the safe harbour and the fact that we could either, and I'm sure this is going to be appropriate for those of you that are in very severe lockdown at the moment, places like Australia, for example, you can either view it as a prison, it's like I'm in a prison, I can't get away, I can't move, I can't do anything. I know that's the truth, but because I felt a bit like that, it was like, okay, you can view these 11 days as like being in an enforced prison and like staring at four walls, going slightly gaga, or you can view it as you're in a safe harbour and you're having a break and a reprieve from the usual routine. And there was such learning in having a break from the usual routine. One of the things that's come out of this 2 weeks is that those that follow me, you know me, that I often talk about my mum because I am her main carer, basically. I do all her shopping and she relies on me very heavily for practical things, but equally for social, social life, basically. So effectively, the fact that I wasn't able to get to her, she's also in a sort of self-imposed prison. And what has happened is that after years of trying to get her to accept other help to come in, to do a bit of shopping or cleaning or whatever, we've cracked it. I found a lady who went in to see her this week, who's going to be seeing her once a week from now on, helping her out just with little jobs and whatever. It will help me going forward because it's an extra pair of hands. But Mum said to me as well, she said, I felt such a sense of relief after so-and-so left. She said, because it's just somebody else I can turn to. That came as a result of us literally being forced to not be able to do anything. So there was a blessing in that as well. So, I'm all about seeing the blessings in situations. Right, one of you wrote a very interesting comment at some point in these 2 weeks, and it was linked to Rudolph Steiner, who I did say I was going to channel, didn't I? And I will do. But anyway, Rudolph Steiner, on a book that he wrote on epidemics. Now, I haven't read this book, okay, so I can't vouch for this, but according to this person, there's a quote from Steiner, and he says, with regard to any form of epidemic, the choice that we make let's just read the quote. The choice comes from the solar plexus, and that applies to both camps. What do I mean by that? The choice comes from the solar plexus, and that applies to both camps. The solar plexus is our place of all our fear, but it's also our place of all our power. So do you, when the virus comes knocking and is in your home, do you quake in your boots, okay? Seal up your windows, put a great big cross on the door, just be in complete and utter panic, because that can happen? Or do you step into your sovereignty and your belief and your wisdom, which is also within the solar plexus, affirming, I am protected, I am well, I will be okay, etc. There's 2 ways to go with it. It's coming from the same place. It's coming from this central well that we all have. And the truth is that there's nothing to be ashamed of when you do go into fear. You will go into fear. You're a human being. It's about not staying there. Can I just repeat that? You're a human being. You will go into fear. It's about not staying there. So the worst day I had with it was when John was ill. I don't know whether it was day 3, day 4. He really was quite poorly. As I say, he was in bed the whole time, and I know him very well, so I know what's normal and what's not normal. And also remember, even though I'm trying to quash this, okay? I was fine when I'm just quashing this, but when I started to dip into that, that's when it was just like I went into panic. I wasn't in panic with this. I was in panic when I went into that at any point, the collective. But there was this one moment where I was feeling it again, almost like from a detached observational perspective. I sound a bit clinical here, but it is sort of just how I was observing it. It was almost like it was an out-of-body experience. I could feel this welling sense of panic within me that something bad was going to happen, because the collective says that it will. Okay, that's what the media say. This is the energy that we've got. It's almost like if you get it, you're going to die. People forget that there's a 99.5% survival rate to this thing, okay? But it's like, if you open your paper, you wouldn't ever believe that, because it's not what's being fed to us. And we've been fed it constantly for the last 1.5 years. Okay, so yeah, I had this moment which was just, it was physical. I could feel it in my stomach. I could feel it in my solar plexus. In that hour, I wasn't in my divine power and strength. I was in complete and utter fear, and I allowed it just to get a grip of me. And I remember sitting in the garden, and it was very much linked into, it was primal. It was a primal fear linked into, this man is the father of my children. Okay, he's the father of my children. Nothing can happen to him. He's the father of my children. But it was like, yeah, but what if something does happen to him? What if they don't have their father? That's what it was. That's what I was feeling. And it was just total and utter panic. My children, by the way, they're not really children, but my girls were not in panic at any point in this whole process. It was just me that had this moment. But I remember sitting in the garden thinking, okay, just breathe into this, for God's sake. I was like, for God's sake, just let this go. This is ridiculous. Because I knew it wasn't going to happen, but it was like I had to feel the worst possible scenario, which was like, he's not going to be here anymore. It's like they're going to lose their dad. And at that moment, I just closed my eyes. I sat outside in nature. I breathed, and I just said, with intention and a depth of passion, and it was like a real cry from the heart. That's what I'm trying to say, with a real cry from my heart, a cry from my gut. I said to Metatron, is it going to be okay? I opened my eyes, and at that moment, a white butterfly just flew beside me. It went virtually into my face. It just flew beside me. And it was extraordinary. As soon as I saw that, I actually almost like laughed out loud. And I did say to Metatron out loud, I said, thank you. And suddenly all of the fear just lifted off me. It just lifted away. It was literally like 5 minutes before, I was like gripped in this like anxiety, like, my God. And then the next, it was like, it's all going to be fine. Nothing had actually changed upstairs. He was still exactly as he was. But what had changed was my energy within myself, which of course then I'm sure helped him. And indeed, I will just say this, I want to go back and show this picture in a minute, but I will just say this thing about frequency that we hold is very important for other people in our home who have it. So as an example as well, okay, so I was to share a bedroom with John, and he was in a separate bed. Okay, so he was in a separate bed, but I'm in the same room as him, and I consciously knew through the whole week that I had a choice. The first choice was, do I basically just bring the mattress downstairs and sleep in this room away from him to try and protect myself? And I thought, well, it's nonsense, because he's in the house anyway. We've all been living together for 2 weeks. If this virus is in the home, which it is, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. So I decided, no, I'm going to stay sleeping up there. But again, the choice was, do I lie down in my bed thinking about the person sleeping over there, breathing out the virus through their breath? Because this is why we're all wearing masks and everything. Again, not getting to the whole mask thing, but it's like it's coming obviously via his breath, and if he coughs or whatever. Am I lying there in fear, like thinking, oh my God, this wave of infection is just engulfing me, and I'm just this terrible victim who's just going to get it, because why would I not get it? I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. So what I chose to do was I lay in my bed and I thought, okay, he's there. He's there. He's doing what he needs to do to heal. I'm here. And I thought, okay, to change it round completely. And what I was thinking was, okay, I hold a high frequency. I try to anyway. My frequency is the wave that's going to be in that room. Because my frequency is a stronger wave than whatever this is that he's got, which is trying to come and invite its way into my bed. No, thank you, you're not coming in. So my vibration is strong, is healthy, and it's as though that's the wave that's in the room. And my vibration, therefore, is affecting your vibration that's here, because it's stronger, it's higher. Okay? And I remember just feeling that, and I really believe that also helped. By helping to just hold a high vibration, it rubbed off on him, basically, is what I'm trying to say, okay? I want to say something about going back to that moment of panic and fear, because really what it's about in that moment is you're hanging on by your coattails to your own trust and faith, okay? I never actually lost it completely. But it's okay to have a moment, even if it's half an hour, where it's just like, oh God, this could be really bad. I want to show you a picture that Jane's done for our new Christ Consciousness deck. This is the one, I think we're going to call it Faith. And it's the story of when the woman in the crowd touched Jesus and was healed. Now, for those of you that don't know this passage, let me just tell you what it is about. I thought I had it on my phone, I haven't. Okay, so from memory, there's a crowd of people around Jesus, and there's a woman here who's been bleeding constantly for, months or years, and she reaches out and she touches his cloak, and in the moment that she touches his cloak, the fringes of his cloak, she is healed, the bleeding stops. And he turns around and he says, who has touched me? And because I could feel that some of my power has left me. And she says, it was me, Master, that touched you. And he basically says to her, it's your faith and your trust that healed you. Okay, it's not the touching of the cloak. It's your faith and trust that healed you. The faith and trust in terms of reaching out for help is really what he's saying. And I feel that's what I was doing in my darkest moment. It was like I reached out to Metatron and I just said, and he knew I meant it, as I said from the depths of my being, is he going to be okay? Is this going to be okay? And I got the message, yes, it was. Now, if the message had been counter to that, if the message had been, no, he's not going to be okay, I equally would have been given the strength, and I would have been given the strength to cope with it. I know that also, because I'm saying all of this based on my experience, but I also know other people, this is playing out in different ways in different homes, okay? Beautiful painting that, isn't it? So it's your faith that heals you. It's your trust your trust and your faith that heal you. Did my trust and my faith and my vibration help me from not picking it up this time? Yes, I believe it did. But, and there's a big but, that doesn't mean that somehow I get, the big prize, that a whoopee for me, I didn't get it. No, because I believe that the virus is a teacher. If it wants to come back into my home at any one time and give me a dose of it, it'll give me a dose of it. And there will be something I'm meant to learn from that experience. But right now, this last couple of weeks, I wasn't meant to. The other interesting thing that I was thinking is that Metatron in particular, those of you that have studied with me and done my training courses, do you remember we talk about the fact that I believe Metatron governs time? He's known as the Time Lord, okay? A bit like Doctor Who. He is a bit like Doctor Who. He governs time. What do we mean by that in relation to this? What I was observing, because one of my fears had always been, what would happen if John and I both get ill at the same time? Because it does get to the real basics. It gets to like, well, who's going to walk Bella? Who's going to cook the dinner for the kids? I mean, they're not kids. They could look after themselves probably. But in my head, this is the thing. It's like, what if both of us went down with it at the same time and suddenly are completely incapacitated? It's like, what would happen to the girls? What would happen to Bella? What would we do? What would happen to Mum? And what I feel is that he staggered the time so that I could very well get it at some point in the future. And if I do, I'll come back on and I'll tell you what my experience is of it. Okay? And if I don't make it, I'll tap on a few of you that are mediums as well. I'm being serious there. I'll do that. And bring my message through that way. Because I don't fear death either. This is the other thing. I don't actually fear death. It was more that I was fearing the consequences of this person obviously not being here, and like, how would my children cope? What would we do? I don't fear death. I believe that we all have a life contract, and when that life contract is up, it's up. I've lost my train of thought, guys, but anyway, whatever I was just saying, maybe I've completed what I was meant to say there. It'll come back if it was important. Oh yeah, it was important. Okay, he's brought it back. Did you see that? Metatron as the Time Lord. Yeah, he's brought it straight back. What I'm trying to say is that we didn't all get it at the same time. It's been staggered. So if, for example, I'm meant to get it, or if Sophie is meant to get it at some point, for us to learn something, or just for us to upgrade, because that's another aspect. I believe this can also be an upgrade energy. I'll talk about that in a moment. It'll happen at a time when, for example, John is strong and healthy, or Lucy is. It's like the whole clan wasn't going to be laid low at the same time. But it's equally because I've been working with the Metatron energy for a long time. So that's something for you to consider. If it comes knocking into your home, what Metatron's showing me is a row of dominoes falling. Some of you watching this, it's as though if it knocked on your door today, and I might have felt this, to be honest, on day 1, 2 weeks ago. I think I did have that energy a little bit, but I managed to push it away. It's almost like, oh my God, it's here. We're all just going to be knocked out. It's going to be Lucy, John, me, Sophie. And it's like, no, that was never going to happen, because I'm the Time Lord, and, some of those dominoes need to be still standing up. Okay? So it's as though he managed it in a way that was as easy for us as a household to cope with as possible. And that's very true of Spirit. Spirit will try and do that if you request it. If you're conscious that is the ability for that to happen is possible. Okay? It's the opposite of it arriving and it's like, oh my God. And I had that. I remember ringing up a couple of people, particularly family members, like, oh no, oh my God. And it's like total panic stations, like, you're going to be all right. Again, let me show you the picture. My masterpiece. That's their stuff. I don't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that. I also didn't ring up a couple of people I know who are, I'm just going to say, how do I say it nicely? Well, they've just got an issue with the fact that I haven't had the jab, okay? And we haven't had the jab. So I knew if they found out, I would just get a whole load of negativity coming back. And I thought, I'm not going to give you the pleasure of doing that. So I haven't rung them. I don't know whether they know or not. But it's like, no, I didn't need that. I just needed to concentrate on me, and I needed to concentrate on my family, okay? So this collective thing of like, oh my God, no! That's their stuff. Doesn't have to be your stuff. You just work on your little bubble of fear. It's enough. Okay? Okay, let's get to a few little remedies. Right, I've written here, with regard to whatever your remedy is, it's the power that you give something regards the remedy that is key. Okay? Can I repeat that? It's the power that you give something regards a remedy that is key. I can't stress that enough. If you pick up, whether it's a spray, a crystal, a vitamin, and you place your faith in this, again, it becomes, it's the same analogy of this. I'm placing my faith in you. And yeah, I've clutched onto this all week. Would you like to see what it is? Again, I'm not saying this is right for everybody, but for me, I've been taking cherry powder capsules. It's high dose vitamin C, actually. I've been taking them pretty much through the whole pandemic. Lots of other people saying, oh no, you need to get this vitamin, you need to get that supplement, you need to do this, you need to do that. I was like, no, I'm just going to stay with what I'm feeling, I'm placing my faith in. I'm placing my faith in my vitamin C, I'm placing my faith in various other things. I also place my faith in homeopathy, and I'll take some as I'm talking to you, because to be honest, all of my healing is based on homeopathy. These sprays are based on homeopathy. They're based on the work of Masaru Emoto. I've said this many, many times. You know, colour therapy is a form of homeopathy. It's to do with understanding that the waters, the oils carry the energy of the colour, that colours have healing properties, that essential oils in water have healing properties, etc. Anyway, back to homeopathy. One of my team, Michelle, is a registered qualified homeopath. She's also doing something now called Homeobotanicals. So she made me up a blend of something to boost my immune system, basically. And I've been taking that 3 drops 6 times a day. In fact, we've all been taking it. So, you know, again, I'm placing my faith in that. I think it's very good. I'll put a little link to Michelle below and her Homeobotanical site. Homeobotanicals is a combination, hold on, I can't read this now, I've got my glasses on. It's a combination of the nutrition of herbal combinations with the with homeopathy. Yeah. So it's herbs and homeopathy combined. So I've been taking that. John has also been taking, he goes to see a herbalist locally. He's on all sorts of potions and lotions from this herbalist because he's always done that. He's always done that. So again, he wasn't going to let his tool bag of things go that work for him through this. He was going to keep doing it. Okay, so homeopathy, herbs, vitamin C, colour therapy obviously is a given for me. It's been the thing that has stayed with me since 2005 when I first found it. But to be honest, even as a little girl, I've told you this story before, I was 5 or 6. I would have been 5. I was in reception class at school, and I remember every week the teacher had a table, and it would be a different coloured table every week. And the idea would be you brought an item of colour to put on the colour table. And I always remember the gold table. I remember my excitement as a 5-year-old about finding something golden within the home to put on the gold table. Colour for me has always been, you can see I'm passionate about it, has always been my go-to. I believe in it. I have faith in it. That's why I created the whole range of sprays that we've got. I truly believe in it. So I was, of course, always going to turn to colour because it's the thing that's always got me through. Let's just say now the sprays that I was particularly using. I've mentioned Quan Yin. Okay, so I must admit, on Lionsgate, when he started to be unwell, there was a part of me that felt a little bit pissed off. Because I was like, oh, I'll tell you, I went into a bit of victimhood. It was like, hold on a minute. I've done all this stuff you've asked of me, Spirit. I've put out the Lionsgate video. I'd done all my session work for my level 1s, which I'd enjoyed doing immensely that week, even though Lucy had been ill. I'd really tried to keep going, and then John came down with it, and initially it felt like a real slap in the face from Spirit. It was like, thanks a bunch. It's Lionsgate. This is supposed to be the day where we're all feeling good, and I've now got this to contend with. That's how I truly felt. I very quickly got myself out of that mindset, because if you go into victimhood, that is a very, very low vibration, okay? Even if it's justified, it's a very low vibration. It's not going to keep you well. It's not going to keep you happy. It's not going to keep you healthy. It's certainly not going to keep you protected. It's just going to drag you further and further down. So on Lionsgate. No, I wasn't going to stay in victimhood. I was going to be like the lion. This is the energy we need. Like the lion that comes back roaring. And it's like, whatever you give me, okay, we'll deal with this. And there's a lesson in this. And I realised it was actually a huge blessing to come in so I could come back and talk to you as well about this and hopefully lift some of you up and give you some hope. Because ultimately, if you're opening your newspapers every day, all you are reading is, you know, like my friend on social media, this number of people have got it, this number of people have died. Yes, they have. Rest in peace to those souls. But equally, wow, look at these people who've recovered. You know, let's hear their stories, okay? Let's hear their stories. So I'm telling you ours. Right, colours that helped. Quan Yin. To me, having called on, you know, I called on Metatron, I called on Mother Mary, I called on Christ, I called on an ancestor of John's as well. But equally, more than anything, the presence that was most strong in my house, I feel, was my own higher self. I truly do. So I dipped into, yeah, we have got a higher self spray, which just helps us to bridge into that. Because certainly when you've got fear around, then, you know, it's easy to dip out of it. So yeah, the higher self spray. Gold, that colour again, gold and purple. Gold and purple, higher self, stay in that. If you are in your higher self, you're not in fear. You're just not. You're connected to source, you're connected to the divine, you're connected to all is well. Whatever will occur, I can cope with because I am aligned. So yeah, purple and gold. Emerald green, I've already shown you, which is to do, it's like a master healing colour energy. It's a deep, deep healer. And then again, maybe obviously the Meta Pirate spray. Some people don't know that we made this. We made this at the start of the pandemic. It's our version of thieves oil. I think it's called thieves oil or pirate oil in different parts of the world. It is a combination of viral, antibacterial oils, and it's a good shielder. It's a good shielder, okay? So again, I was spraying this, sprayed it all over his bed. I mean, I couldn't get into Lucy's room, so it was almost like I had to do it with intention because her door was locked. But I could get into John's space, so I did spray that. The other thing that I did religiously was I saged. Oh boy, did I sage. And I am going to put a link to Mark Bajeski's video on how to sage properly, because I haven't got time to do that here. But you can look at that. But anyway, what I basically did was I lit a lot of sage. And I really, sage has amazing antibacterial qualities as well. It really just helps to devour the bugs and the spores. And what I did was I burnt it every day. I also smudged around John's bed every day when he was particularly feeling unwell. And it was quite interesting. I mean, even like this, it's not really lighting very much. There's a tiddly bit of smoke. That's because there's not a lot around at the moment in terms of virus, or it's probably going to smoke up a bit now I've said that. Maybe that's a collective thing, because I know it's not around me. I'm not carrying it. I'm clear. But what am I trying to say? Sage. So yeah, saging my body, saging my room, saging my house, saging the bed. Yeah, I'll put the link to Mark's video. I have to say, he asked me not to say anything publicly because I think he's got more than enough business on his hands anyway. But he's such a sweet man, and he was. I would like to thank Mark for the support he gave me through last week. He was very, very kind, and he sent me on the day I think that Lucy came down with it, I got a beautiful box, or a gift box from him, including this beautiful necklace that I'm wearing. And he did it from his heart. He didn't do it because of any ulterior motive or, you know, anything like that. It was just a genuine box of love from a fellow light worker, and I really appreciated that. It was very, very sweet of him. This particular necklace, which I was going to mention, yeah, he sells them, but it has 3 crystals in it, because I was going to come to crystals. It is, what is it? It's Moldavite, Herkimer Diamond and Tektite. And yeah, I've worn it pretty much most days, I think, over the last week or so. I've also been wearing some shungite, and I also dipped into some aquamarine as well in terms of crystals around my neck. But other than that, oh yeah, there were a couple of other crystals. This one, I've mentioned this crystal many times in my COVID videos. Oh God, now I can't remember what the name is. I don't really want to switch my camera off. I'll put it in the link below. Is it oh, hold on. I am going to pause my camera. Hold on. It was Nebula Stone. Nebula Stone. Okay. Couldn't remember. Nebula Stone. So yeah, put that underneath this pillow. Right. Reminds me of Princess and the Pea. Remember that story as a child? Right. I'm nearly there. I just want to see if there's anything else I haven't mentioned. There was another spray that I used a lot, which was the Fear Fighter spray. It's a children's spray. But again, sometimes when we're going into fear, it can actually be our inner child that's actually in a place of panic. Again, the higher self doesn't panic ever. It's often, it's our shadow that's manifesting, and it's also the inner child that's having a big wobble as well. So I use the Fear Fighter spray as well. I will put all of the sprays that I use below in the description box. Anything else? It was just an observation that, and again, I'll put a link below to this guy's work, but certainly with John, he was really interested in the work of Wim Hoff. I know Russell Brand's done some introductory work to Wim Hoff recently, which is what got me onto it, which I think is what has got John onto it. But I mean, Wim Hoff is just like a legend in his own lifetime, really. No, I haven't had the ice baths that he suggests, although I'm allowed out from tomorrow, so I might go down to the sea because it's probably going to be freezing cold, which would be good. But yeah, that boosts your immune system. Probably not a good idea to do when you're actually unwell. But again, look into the work of Wim Hoff. It's very, very inspiring. Might look at that another time. Let's just have some water, as I'm about to mention Dr. Masaru Emoto. Again, you know, I mean, to be honest, I'm just really telling you things that I use all the time anyway. I believe in what I believe, and they didn't fail me, is what I'm really trying to say. They did not fail me. So again, water, what vibration are you putting into the water? Are you putting a vibration of health into the water? I did dip a little bit into the work of Louise Hay as well, obviously. Ties in with the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto. I opened it at this particular page one day, and the affirmation is, I am healthy and filled with energy. You know and affirm that your body is a friendly place to live. You have respect for your body and you treat it well. You connect with the energy of the universe and you allow it to flow through you. You have a wonderful energy that sustains you throughout each day. You are radiant, vital and alive, and so it is. You know, some sort of affirmation like that to also keep front of mind, to put that type of blessing into the water that you drink. The water that you drink becomes what is in your body, which becomes what you are. All this type of stuff, which we know, but again, it's just a good reminder. I also set up grids around my house. I put a grid into the lounge. I don't know if you call it a lounge in different parts of the world, the sitting room, the place where we watch TV, on a sofa, that type of room. I put one for the whole family, and on that, from memory, I put a candle which represented strength. I put some smoky quartz. I put the Fear Fighter spray. That's John having a little cough outside doing the garden. I put the Fear Fighter spray. I put Archangel Raphael spray. I put a couple of cards which were linked into transmutation and power and love. You know, so that whole energy is in the lounge. And then on my desk, I'm going to keep these up for a while. I've got little individual grids for each of us. So I'm not going to show, I'll just show you what mine is because I don't mind sharing my stuff. I'm not going to share other people's because it's a bit personal. But as an example, I chose a colour that I felt that I needed through the last couple of weeks, and I'm still needing it, as you can see today, wearing my white. My colour is white. That's the colour that I particularly feel I need at the moment. I called on an Ascended Master. What's the Ascended Master that came through for me, for example? It was Diana, Focused Intention, okay? Focused Intention, the moon goddess. And then I didn't choose, I shuffled, there's a great deck by Lucy Cavendish called Blessed Be. Believe it or not, those 4 things, they are all full of oracle cards. And actually there's more behind there. I'm going to have to do a whole reading on my favourite oracle cards one day and tarot decks. But anyway, somewhere in there is there, Blessed Be by Lucy Cavendish. So I pulled a blessing for each of us. And mine was a blessing on a homecoming, number 44. And then I just wrote on a little, none of it's very sophisticated. I just wrote on a little post-it note. What have I put here? Healing for Amanda to be restored to full health easily. Protected always, thank you. You know, it's basic stuff, this. On top of that, I put a crystal. I think I chose for myself, did I have my lion? Maybe I did. Candle, job done. You know, none of this is difficult. It's just doing it. And more than anything, it's about believing in the power of it. Believing in the power of it. It's about having faith. Having faith and moving mountains. Okay. So that's the grids. Yes, I'll do another video probably on grids another day, but you know, don't overcomplicate it. A grid basically is just a place where you focus your intention, and onto your grid you place whatever you want. A flower, a card, a crystal, a spray, a poem, anything that symbolises what you are asking for help with. In this case, it was healing and protection, okay? Right. Anything else to say? I think the other thing I just wanted to reiterate is how important it is to let go of all of the arguing. It struck me how much we waste our energy trying to fight our case. I have full expectation that when I put this video out, people are going to come at me and basically, you know, be very, well, they're just going to come at me because I've had a test and it's like, you shouldn't have done that because don't you know this? People have already saying in the comments before I've even made this video about, you know, you haven't really had it, it's just cold, you know, what you're going on about. It's like, can we just let all of that noise go? Just do you. Just do you. Do your truth. If that's what you feel, great. You don't have to keep going on and on about it to everybody else. And equally, we mustn't do it to other people, okay? Just do you. It's like, let the ego just quieten down and let spirit take over. Let your higher self take over. What is it that I'm meant to learn from this experience? Stay humble. You will have something to learn if it comes knocking at your door. You know, life is all about what we're meant to learn. The other thing I just would like to say to close is that it also really struck me how important it is to keep the chain of help going. And what I mean by that is it takes me back to my days of being a brownie, dib, dib, dib and all that. Although we didn't do that in brownies, that was cubs. But in brownies, I remember being very, very proud to be the leader of the Kelpies. I was a Kelpie. I was a sixer of the Kelpies. You see how I'm doing that? I was a sixer of the Kelpies. Anyway, the thing with the brownies is you're meant to do one good deed a day, at least one good deed a day. And I think we forget that sometimes as grown-ups. Now, hopefully I try and always do a good deed a day via my social media work. But I'm talking about actually getting out there into your community, you know, the neighbour in your street. Because ultimately, it's the neighbour in your street that you need when you need somebody, okay? It's the person who actually can walk the dog or go and pick up a pint of milk for you. And they're only going to do that if you've also helped them, you know? That's what I mean about the chain reaction, okay? So it's about helping each other, staying in love, letting go of fear. And remember, don't feed the fear yourself. You know, look how big it is anyway. The more that you keep going on about, oh my God, really? And oh my God, I know so many people have died, or, you know, again, I'm not saying it's not truth, but it's like, let's start talking about recovery. Let's start talking about people that are fine. You know, both cases in my week, it was a week. It was a week of illness, and you know, we're through, and all is well. So I send you lots of love, anybody that's going through it. I hope that this video has helped in some way. That was the whole intention of coming on. There's probably things that I've forgotten to say, but I think I'll leave it there. Let me just pull a card from Metatron at the end, because I can't resist. I can't do a video and not have a card anywhere. Well, I did show you Diana. What does she say? She says, trust what you desire, set your sights high and expect the best possible outcome. That's what I held on to this week. And the card that comes up from my Metatron deck is the card of love. You know, stay in love. It's also about self-love, looking after self. You know, self-love and nurture. When you feel unwell, or when you have somebody in your home that is unwell, it's about time out. It's about getting the broth on. Okay. Take care, guys. I'll be back soon. I have no idea what the next video will be, but I'll do something else this week, and I send you lots of love. Thank you all for your support, and it's always appreciated. Take care. Take care of you. Take care of each other. Bye-bye for now. Bye.